Live.
Yes, we are live.
Okay.
Hey, Sam, Sampath here, and we have the founder, or I would say the co-founder of FigPii, Khalid Saleh, with us today. So everyone who's online, just give us a hi and keep your questions coming in. We are going to hear a bit of background story about FigPii and what made a legendary, I would say, like 2 decades of CRO agency to build an amazing tool like FigPii, and a little bit about the college experience as well. He has like super strong experience when it comes to CRO. He's like I call him like privately like Mr. CRO or Mr. King of CRO. That's how I would address this guy. He has like the amount of insights that this guy brings to the table is like insane. So I really would love to hear a few words. I mean, I don't know his story, but then I really want all of you to hear a bit of more about like Khalid as well as FitPi. Khalid, stage is yours.
Awesome. Hello, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to join. So let me give you a little bit of, oh, I see like some chair in the background, so I'm just going to do this. So let me give you a little bit of background about FigPii and how it came about. But probably before I jump into that, let me tell you a little bit more about the experience and how I started on conversion optimization back in 2006. So in a prior life, I used to basically be a software architect and mainly focused on e-commerce websites and enterprise e-commerce websites. So I've done American Express, GoToMeeting, just really large projects. And one of those large projects that I've worked on, and this was back in 2005, was a project that cost about $35 million. It was for Motorola. And basically, it was Motorola saying that we are going to go into e-commerce. We're going to sell our equipment. Remember, at that point in time, there was no iPhone. We're going to sell our equipment online. So I was the software architect actually for Motorola. Software was extremely expensive. The team was about 120 people. And we, within 3 months period, basically what we did is we built this just absolutely amazing platform. And I still remember that we had, just to handle the traffic, we had 16 different servers, basically, to be able to handle the traffic load. And they launched it with the new year, basically 2006. Absolutely amazing. Actually, we got so much traffic, so many visitors that the servers, the 16 servers, went down during the first couple of hours. Bring them back up. Great. We're excited. I'm very proud of the accomplishments of my team. And about 30 days later, we look at the sales, and for a $35 million investment, we've generated about 10 orders. I mean, it was, needless to say, some people lost their jobs, some people, got fired, and some people like me decided, oh, you know what? I can help people increase their conversion rates. Thus, the idea of our consulting practice was born, and this was again back in 2006. And in all honesty, at that point in time, there was only one other firm at that point in time doing conversion rate optimization. So we were much early on, and I still recall the first 3 years. You talk to VPs of marketing, you talk to CMOs, and the minute you tell them conversion rate optimization and improving a website conversion rate, they would just laugh. They're like, oh, you mean search engine optimization? I'm like, no, it's something different. Long story short, we started the company, again, 2006. And throughout the years, we've worked with clients. I say our clients kind of fall into 2 different groups, which is sort of interesting. There is the well-established companies. So we worked, for example, eBay is a long-time client, 3M, Special Olympics, O'Reilly, Ericsson. They're just very well-established. Name Discovery, for example. So that's one camp. And then you have this other camp, which is basically startups. And people always say, like, just like this like huge gap between the two two different clients. And I tell them, well-established enterprise companies pay, and then they pay really well. But at the same time, it might take us 3-4 months to launch a single experiment. On the other hand, the startups, they're a lot more strict with their budget. They're a lot more careful. But oh man, the type of experimentation that we can do is just absolutely incredible with them. So that's the consulting practice, and it's known as Invest. So if IMVESP, people always ask me, what does the name stand for? It's a bit strange name. So I told them a couple of things. It's a strange name, but you will remember it. And then the other thing that I tell people, it actually used to stand for something. And in all honesty, 13 years later, 14 years later, I do not remember what it stands for. So Invest is Invest. Now, as we started doing conversion optimization, and back in 2010, 2011, one thing as more and more software started to come about, more A/B testing software, Heatmap software, for our large clients, paying for that software was becoming more expensive. We have, for example, one client that has to pay about $400,000 in software costs per month, by the way, which is an incredible amount. So imagine you try and sell them a conversion rate optimization project and tell them, yeah, by the way, we need you also to pay $400,000, $300,000, $400,000 of software fees. Just crazy amount of, basically amount that they had to pay. So we said, you know what, maybe we need to build our own software. And in addition, there's a problem as an industry grows that we find that, let's say you're running an Optimizely or Visual Website Optimizer. And this, I see it, and it has nothing to do with those vendors, but any industry, as it matures, and you're the marketing guy who's sitting there, what happens? You've already built the A/B testing, you've already built the heat map, and you start thinking to yourself, like, what new features should I add? And you start adding features that are really the users don't really benefit from. The perfect example of that I give, is Excel in 2007, because they used to support, and I don't know if people know this, they used to support 64 colors. So if you open Excel, you can do 64 colors. And in 2007, they released this feature that allows you actually to support if you want to change the color on text, and that's available in Excel right now. You can actually select between 3 million, 3.5 million colors. To the end user, does it really matter? That's not gonna, I went from 64 colors to 3.5 million. No, but it's just kind of a feature bloated software. So we said, you know what, we need to build software that is actually useful, that we can use on our projects, and we still use we actually use FigPii on all of our projects. And it needs to be very fast, because that's a very important consideration. We don't need a ton of features. We just need the features that are really beneficial to somebody who's doing conversion optimization, who's trying to improve website conversion rate, who's trying to create a website that people would like. And that's really how the idea of FigPii was born, and it was born back in 2012. Now, internally, we've actually been using FigPii for many years. And until a couple of years ago, when I was talking to one of our clients, and he says, well, who else is on the platform? I told him, well, the platform is actually our clients. He said, really? Like, you never thought about releasing it? And I told him, the platform and the way it's built is really built for our marketing team and for technical teams. So it is not buttoned up to look really nice and compete with companies that have hundreds of software developers. And he said, no, I think you should release it. It's very useful. The pricing is really very reasonable. So I love that idea. I always say, whenever I hear an idea, I like to let it marinate in my head. Talk it over with my partner, and they said, you know what, it makes sense. Let's go ahead and do that. And at the same time, I've been part of the community at SaaS Mantra. So basically, I was talking to Sampath, and I said, you know what, you have all these enterprise clients who are used to the application because they've been the platform, they've been using it forever, and they're used to the quirks in it. Let's get it out there. Let's get the community on it. You'll get lots of tickets, and that we did. Let's button it up if you want to actually push it into the market. And thus comes the offer, the lifetime deal that we did with SaaS Mantra. That's kind of a quick background about the tool, about what we're doing with it. Let me see. So let's see. Oh, SaaS Mantra has access to Sampath. Are you going to jump here, or do you want me just to kind of continue? I'm just sort of I can talk about FigPii, and I'll talk about clients forever, so.
Yeah, I know. I mean, that story was super, super interesting. I didn't mean to interrupt, so that's why I was just staying back. So anyway, let's dive into FigPii. Perhaps we can start with how far the tool has come across over the years. I know you guys have been using it for multiple clients. You have got several inputs from different enterprises. So a quick bite about how far the tool has come from the time you have started building it, and then we can dive deep into walkthrough.
So in all honesty,
I'll just be hidden in the backstage.
Sure. Sure. So let me talk about the tool and the tool evolution. So the tool basically, when it started, was supposed to be just A/B testing because that's what we needed. And then we said, you know what, it will be really very useful to have heat maps and video recording and then online polling. Now, our cornerstone is the A/B testing, engine, and we're actually going to be rolling out new UI updates just to make the process of the A/B testing much easier. It's sort of interesting. So lots of the A/B testing tools that are available out there are either extremely conservative, and for those of you guys who are familiar with some of the testing tools out there, so for example, Test and Target, which is Adobe Test and Target, used to be Omniture at some point. That's a very conservative tool. What does that mean? You can run 100 tests on Test and Target, and because of the statistical method that they use, about 99 of them or 100 of them will show you that you've lost. Although you might have winners, but they use a method, a two-tail test, z-test, basically to determine the winner. So that's like, one school of tools. On the other hand, there's another school of tools that's really interested in having you just continue using the tool. So they declare winners really too fast. And then they use it like, kind of like a one-tail test. And sometimes, like, they'll declare a winner and there's not enough conversions that have been collected. So when we sat as a team and we said, you know what, every person who's going to be using FigPii, we consider them as a client. And when it comes to our clients, we want to make sure whenever they're doing A/B testing, we want to make sure that they're actually making money. It's not about the tool. It's about actually increasing conversions, improving the website. So what do we need to do? So that's the reason we actually went into a different kind of like statistical model where we use what we call Bayesian statistics. For those who are interested, I've written a rather lengthy, I think it's like in 5,000 words, explaining Bayesian statistics and kind of the theory behind Bayesian statistics and why we chose it versus like, a one-tail or two-tail test or what we call frequency statistics. Now, when it comes to Bayesian statistics, I believe Google Optimize, by the way, uses it, although it's a very black box, so they're not very open about using it. I believe OmniConvert uses it. Convert uses it, not OmniConvert. Other tools are still frequentials, or they use a hodgepodge or sometimes of different tools. So we still continue to invest in our A/B testing, the A/B testing platform or tool within the platform. That's very important. One of the things that we're going to be rolling out over the next, I would say, like, next quarter, preparation kind of for the summer, and then of course the holiday season. And I can't believe I'm talking about the holidays at the beginning of the year. Is actually the ability to launch A/B tests for quick campaigns. So for those of you guys who have done A/B testing, typically it takes anywhere between a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks to actually launch conclude an A/B test. Now, if you're running a campaign, let's say you're doing an email campaign or you're running a campaign for Black Friday, you don't have 2 weeks. You really want to launch the campaign, and the whole A/B test should conclude in 4 hours. So we're launching something very specific to handle that. So that's kind of our A/B testing portion. In terms of heat maps and video recording, I always tell people, I'm like, it's a bit challenging to develop those. At some point, there's another tool that offered you to watch 50,000 videos in a single month. It's like, we'll record up to 50,000 videos. And I'm like, really? Knock yourself out. Who's going to watch 50,000 videos? The reality of it, what you will watch is maybe 50, 100. And if you have some employees, you might be able to force them to watch about a couple of hundred videos. But then it gets boring and tedious. So the question for us was, okay, so we have all these videos and visitor interaction that we are recording. How do we actually make it more meaningful? So we're actually working on something very interesting where we're merging the video and the heat maps together. Something similar but a bit different than full story. So that will be interesting. That's also planned for Q2 if you guys see the public roadmap. In terms of online polling, I think we're nearly there. The tool is there. You can launch so many different types of polling. I think where it's going to become interesting is in trying to actually do some data mining whenever you launch an online poll, because lots of tools offer you to do online polling. But the question is not in launching a poll and asking your visitors, what stopped you from converting today? The trick is in actually doing some data mining and actually giving something actionable and insightful. Where does FigPii stand from differently? I know I saw some question in terms of Hotjar, OmniConvert, Convert. Now, I know these tools because I've used some of them, and I've used some of them very extensively. I'm not going to talk specifically about some of the tools, but let's put it this way. In terms of load time, that's extremely important for us, and I've commented about that. So we are always aiming to be less than 300 milliseconds. That's kind of the standards that we took upon ourselves. The actual asynchronous code for FigPii takes about, in the last benchmark that we did, took about 65 milliseconds. Now we use, of course, a CDN all across the world, but as you can imagine, so when you're working with an eBay, or you're working with Reliance, for example, in India, or you're working, for example, there's a large, one of the largest companies in the Middle East, you're in Turkey and Jarir in Saudi Arabia. We also have some clients in Japan, and again, all these clients are enterprise, so speed matters tremendously to them. So we're constantly looking at the speed. But I would say, and just to be fair, most of the tools out there, if you're talking about enterprise grade, we all benchmark very, very close to each other. Now, there are certain features that we offer, for example, that Hotjar doesn't offer. It's just a matter of positioning. So, for example, we offer A/B testing. Hotjar is not interested in offering A/B testing. We offer, for example, the Heatmaps and video recording. That's not offered as part of, I believe, or one of them is not offered by OmniConvert. So, it depends on what you do. If you're looking for a full suite in terms of what's included, so definitely FigPii, I would say, is one of 3 solutions that offer that full suite. In terms of things that we have on the roadmap, we're currently working also on data segmentation. What does that mean? Let's say you record a video or you do an A/B test, and you want to know, well, okay, we ran an A/B test, the homepage, here's a new design for the homepage. Typically, the question is, well, what's the winner? Well, how about we change the question and we tell you that this design actually increases conversion for visitors coming from Facebook. However, it does really horrible for people coming from paid Google ads. So that segmentation is going to be extremely powerful, and that's something that you will see when it comes also to video recording and heat maps. That segmentation, I think that's something that has not been offered. So we're trying to figure out ways to actually make the data meaningful and actionable. That's in general the roadmap. I'll finish with one last thing, and we hear it on and off, and I put it on hold for a little bit. Which is basically exit intent pop-ups, or the people give them different names. We actually have it built. We still need to fine-tune it, but it's just a question: how does that fit within the rest of the system? So we're still thinking through that, whether we want to release it, when do you want to release it? So those are all questions. That's kind of in general where the tool is. I don't know if there's any other questions, or we can just do a quick walkthrough of FigPii and what FigPii offers.
Yeah, let's go through the walkthrough, and then we can answer questions.
Very good. So let me make sure I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to select a Chrome tab, and we're going to do the.
Okay, Khalid is taking a break to share the screen, I believe. Khalid is still around, mate? Okay, so while Khalid is not here, so what I usually do is I do fill in for Khalid. So I see the questions are coming in. For instance, Yusuf has a question, especially about GDPR. Okay, Yusuf, I believe that we need to wait for Khalid to answer that. Meanwhile, I'll take the other questions.
Hello. Oh, so I don't know what happened to Chrome. It just decided to.
That's okay.
Explode. Okay, so let me try and share my screen again. Second try. Let's see. Okay, so
Yusuf, I'm sorry, you'll have to wait a bit. Let's finish the walkthrough and then come back to answer your questions. But please feel free to bring your questions coming in. We are going to choose 2 best questions of the day, and that'll be rewards from SAS Console.
Nice.
Yes. So
can you guys see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, very good. So let's switch over here to the screen. So let me talk about whenever you install you create your account and you log in, this is kind of the dashboard that you'll have. So you'll see you have A/B testing, you have polls, you have recordings, you have heat maps. Let me select an account that I can actually use. You know what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually log out from this account. Let me just use another account quickly. So I'm going to go ahead and log in. I'm going to log in over here. So again, we have the A/B testing, we have the polls, we have the recordings, and the heat map. Now we've got quite a few questions about the tracking code. So the way tracking works, the minute you install tracking on your website, basically every hour we ping your server to make sure that the tracking is working. And you can click over here. This is the code. So it's a one-line JavaScript, as you see, that enables you to run any of the A/B testing, the heat maps, video, or polls. So that's kind of like, and that's one of the ideas behind FigPii, is instead of having something really light, instead of installing so many different tools, and those tools, one tool tells you have 10,000 visitors, another tool tells you that you have 5,000, and a third tool tells you that you have 15,000. We figured one tool, one consistent data, and one tool that's going to be much faster to load. Now, by the way, installing this code is very simple. You just need to insert this code in the header of your website just before the close of the head tag. It's straightforward, and we have some videos showing that. So it's just a copy paste in the header. Let's talk about the process of A/B testing. So let's take a look at A/B testing over here. And this account that has one experiment. This is a demo account that I'm playing with. So again, we're actually going to be launching a new UI for the A/B testing. But let's go ahead and so as you see over here, you're going to put the name of the test. So let's say my first A/B test. This is also powerful. So you can target a single page on your website. Well, I want to run a test for my homepage. Or let's say you're an e-commerce website, or you run a blog and you want to run a test on all the posts on your site. Or let's say, if there's a way, you say, I want to run the test on multiple pages. So you can select multiple pages, and then this is a bit advanced, not too advanced. If you've played with Google Analytics, you should be able to do it. So basically, we tell you, okay, well, give us the regular expression so we can identify the pages on your website. Best example that I give with this is, again, e-commerce sites, and they want to run a test, new, basically, let's say, page layout for their product pages or their category pages. Usually, they use multiple pages. Let's do a test over here. HTTPS. So we're gonna run a test on FigPii.com. Not really, but just to kind of demonstrate. Type of experiment, again, it's an either A/B test or split URL test. Split URL test is when you have the actual different pages on the site. So you have FigPii 1, FigPii 2, FigPii 3, and you just want FigPii to direct or version 1, version 2, version 3 already built on your server. Most people end up using FigPii, the A/B test, and then you want to run the test on mobile, desktop, or all. Usually, we recommend that you run one test for mobile, one test for desktop. Just not to do all, but some people like to do all, and that's a whole other about the philosophy. This is the tool where you have this visual editor. By the way, the visual editor is also getting built completely, rebuilt completely. But for now, let's see. I'm gonna just cancel out of this. So let's say you wanna. Let's say we're gonna cancel out of this. So I'm just gonna click on this and remove. As you see, so a visual editor, but again, we're rebuilding this. Now, in all honesty, my recommendation as a CRO, not as somebody who had built FigPii, as a CRO company that has done 500 plus projects, we've ran close to 15,000 A/B tests for all sorts of companies. We usually, whether it's FigPii or any other platform, we don't recommend using the visual editor. I know it's easier for some people. The problem with the visual editor is that it makes your A/B test harder to run. So usually the way we run our tests is by, as you see over here, so this variation. So by adding a specific CSS and JavaScript, so that means that you need a developer. So you have the two options. If you have a good developer, he can come in easily and manipulate the page. If you want to do using the visual editor, you can do that. But again, the recommendation usually is not to do that. So you can add as many variations as you like. So let's see, variation 2, and again, variation 2 might be changing the color or removing the logo or moving it in the middle. Let's go to the next step. This is where, as you see over here, it's a review, single page, all the information that we've entered. Now, look at this. This is something that we have, which is the advanced. So this is where we say, well, do I run it for all visitors or new or returning visitors? If you don't have lots of traffic, you run it for all visitors. If your site is getting I don't know, 1,000,000 visitors, then you run it for new visitors typically. You want to run for desktop. When do we declare a winner? So lots of the A/B testing software out there might declare a winner after 10 conversions. We say no, we don't declare a winner until at least the control, which is the original design on the site, has 100 visitors. And then that gives you a little bit of statistical integrity to the test. On our projects, we actually, and then based on the project, we up that maybe to 300 or 500. The confidence level we require 90%. Again, this is based on statistics, so that's similar to a 95% confidence. We always like to send the data to Google Analytics, so there's a way to integrate, and we have videos explaining how you send the data. So within Google Analytics, you actually view the test results. Do you want to run the test for a specific campaign? Do you want to run the test for traffic coming from LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook? All of this is also allowed to you. So these are features that are basically maybe for the advanced users, but definitely some of our clients like to do it. What else do we have? Look at this. So here are the different variations. Control, variation 1, variation 2, and I can just change the traffic between them as I need, and I can put this as 33 as well. So you can control the weight of the traffic. Here, where you define the goals. What is a conversion? You can add as many goals as you want. So when people go to my order confirmation page, with that, I'm actually ready to launch an experiment. Let me pull an experiment that's running. Let's see if we have any experiment running, just so we can see the results. And I'm just going to go to A/B testing. And if we're lucky, no, of course, no running experiments. So let's see if we have, there's multiple experiments sometimes. Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have an experiment that's running. Otherwise, I would have shown and shared the results. Let's see if maybe Blockmetrics sometimes does have a running experiment. Okay, so this has a running experiment. Let's take a quick look and see. This is an old experiment, actually. I can launch it. And let's go to A/B testing and see. It's a very old experiment, so there's a chance. Okay, so yeah, the data over here. Unfortunately, I do not have a running experiment, but you'll be able to see basically the experiment. Let's just let's zoom out. So we'll show you the number of visitors, conversions, the conversion rate, if there's a lift, what is the chance to win. This is very unique to FigPii, where we show you the bounce rate, the exit rate, the average time on site for each one of the variations. Most other A/B testing platforms don't show that. The reason we show it is because we have a full analytics solution behind FigPii. Other analytics solutions, other A/B testing platforms, they're just really counting visitors and conversions. So it's kind of a different approach. We also show you how much money each one of your variations is making. So that's also very, very powerful. Let's go to Heatmaps. So Heatmaps, again, this is very straightforward, creating Heatmaps. You're going to give it a name. You're going to select the number of views. So there's, by the way, a FigPii free account. So lifetime free gives you 1,000 views. With the deal from SaaS Mantra, you're going to be getting probably 2,000 views. And you want to say, well, I want to run the heat map only for my homepage, so a single page. Or no, I want to create a heat map for, if you're an e-commerce website, all my product pages. If you have a blog, well, I want to run it for all the posts on the site or all the category pages on the site. And I want to create it for desktop or mobile. So it's very straightforward. You'll be able to view the different heat maps. Let's take a look at recordings. Again, recordings, you just select and it will record visitors coming to your site. Let's see if we have any. We might have actually recorded some for, let's see, video recordings. So as you see, this is kind of the video recordings that we've recorded, for example, for this is coming on the FigPii domain. So it shows us, like, where people are coming, the packages, how much time they've spent, what's the device, what's the browser, what's the operating system. So we'll see any of that stuff. You can click on play, and I'm just not sure if you guys are able to see. Yeah, I think switching to a different tab. But you can see basically with the recordings how people are clicking. Let's go back to heat maps over here. Let's see if there is a heat map. Well, we don't actually have a heat map. Polls, which is sort of interesting. So polls is your chance to ask visitors any questions that you like. So let's say my first poll And I'm going to run it, for example, let's say on the entire site, and I'm going to run it for, I'll just run it for desktop, and let's create a poll. So there's different type of questions, and you can just literally drag and drop. So let's see, we'll do a select box over here, and as you see over here, let's say, what brings you to our site today? And I'm going to say just browsing. Maybe I need another option, like, thinking about buying, for example. A third option might be not sure. So now we might maybe want to put a short text after that. So we'll put we'll put some text over here, and we'll say, thank you for your feedback. Can you tell us more what you are looking to buy? And again, this is short text, correct? And what you can do is you can actually edit the logic. So if somebody selected, well, think about buying, I want them to go to question number 2. Now, if they selected just browsing, well, we'll show this thank you message. And if they say, I'm not sure, so we'll show the thank you message. As you see over here, and again, you can edit the thank you message. You can, of course, change the appearance of, what does appear on the left or on the right, dark theme or colored theme. We have not added a lot of colors yet. Still debating whether that's useful or not. It might be useful. But then you can also configure. Let's go ahead and configure. When do you want to show this poll? On page load, on exit, when somebody's exiting, after X seconds, after 15 seconds. Do we show it to them all the time until they respond, or only once? And then we can just launch from save and activate. Those are the tools. I think most people, what they do is here's how I see people use our tool. They launch videos and they use them for a little while, and then on and off they'll use them. Once a month they'll take a look at them. Heatmaps, people use them regularly because they want to see where people are clicking. Polls, you should always have a poll on your website asking questions. There is different categories of polls. So we always say ask about motivators. What brought you to our website today? There's barriers. What's stopping you from converting? And then there is what we call hooks. What persuaded you to convert? So on your conversion pages. And again, these are top level categories, but if you think about them, there's just lots of questions that you should always be asking your visitors those questions, getting some data. And if you notice, for example, on one of our clients, we noticed that 93% of the people coming saying that, hey, I'm looking for more information. Well, guess what? We need to add a section to the homepage about the information that people are looking for, our white papers, our case studies. We need to do webinars because 93% of our visitors are interested in that. So you should always have polls that should inform your A/B tests at any point in time. You should have some A/B tests running on your website. Unfortunately, all the A/B tests that I have are for specific clients, so I cannot share the screens. I would have loved to do that, but kind of I think you get the gist of the tool. Sampath, was this a good walkthrough? I'm turning it over to.
Yes, it is. We would like to have you back on screen.
Awesome. Say that again. Sorry.
Can we have you back on screen?
Yes, let me see how I can have. Click here to close message, hover to hide. How do I go back on the screen? Let's see.
Well, let me help you with that.
Yes.
There you go.
I am here, yes.
Okay, that's a nice walkthrough. Jay, however, has a question. Do you know if you guys are going to offer split URL testing?
We do have split URL testing. So that's what you will see whenever we created the A/B test. So it was either A/B testing or split URL. We do have that. The question that I get is whether we will have multivariate testing.
Yes.
And in all honesty, in the last 10 years of my practice, and you work with companies that have literally 10,000 conversions per day. So in terms of visitors and in terms of traffic, they have it. We have decided not to use multivariate testing. It's nice in theory. It's just useless in terms of actionable insights, because you're just I was like, we'll throw in 4 different headlines, 4 different images, 5 different, and you end up with 100 different variations. Okay, great.
There's so much data to handle.
Not only that, is you tell people, so why did this headline with this picture and this color and this? When? And no one knows. And it's like, I don't know. Well, guess what? The real power of A/B testing is not in the test that you run. I mean, it's nice to have a win. It's about the next test. And if you don't know why, you're just throwing things at the wall and hoping that something will stick.
Yeah. I mean, like,
so we have
even when I have run A/B tests in the past, the maximum variation I have went for like A, B, and C, which still has like too many things on the plate. So it's always better to compare 1 with 2 and not 1 with 2 versus 3 versus 4 versus 5. That's only going to be chaos, and you end up losing conversions more than you really anticipated. So,
yeah, it's funny. I always tell people this story, and now I laugh about it. It wasn't very funny back in 2009. So 2009, one of our early clients was O'Reilly. Tons of traffic, tons of conversions. So we said, you know what, we're going to launch an A/B test. And at that point in time, VWO, Visual Website Optimizer, was just coming out. So we talked to the guys and we said, hey, we're going to do a multivariate test with you. And oh my God, we had 100 variations in the test. I mean, we broke VWO completely. Like, it was not designed to handle that much. And actually, their support team and their engineering team got involved, and they end up coding the test for us. The problem is, whenever you launch an A/B test, what you want to avoid is what we call a false positive. You think that you had a winner, but really it's not a winner. False positives. And I didn't know this back then, and it's horrible, but now I can admit it comfortably. I've done enough. The more variations you have, the higher the chances of having a false positive. So at 5 different variations, your chances of having a false positive is up to 50% at 5 variations. So imagine us, we had 100 variations. The chance of a false positive was at 95%. So we thought we had 10 winners, but really they were all false positives. And it took us forever to implement the test. So we avoid that. Now, this is, by the way, one of the nice things about FigPii, because we use Bayesian. So there's no false positives. The statistical method that we use limits false positives tremendously to the point it almost eliminates them.
Got you. That's something interesting to hear. I never knew about that VW story.
Yeah. That's I always joke with the guys, because I mean, at that point in time, they're just starting and they're like, let me see.
Okay, we do have some questions coming in. Let's address a couple of them, and then we can go back to the discussions.
Yeah. So I see the question from Amber. You can come up with something like Facebook dynamic ads where the best working elements are. I am debating that with the guys. So basically, we're thinking about some sort of machine learning where you try different elements and you see what works and what doesn't work. Now I can tell you, I have two competing things in my head. One is kind of the guy who built FigPii with the technical team, and we're like, oh, this is really cool. Let's push it out there. But then there's the CRO consultant who says, in my experience, this fails miserably most of the time. So I'm kind of weary. Lots of times I know people use they say, well, machine learning and AI, and I tell them, oh, it's so far from really machine learning and AI. Although now, for example, AWS allows you to use their engine, Microsoft as well. So there might be something interesting there. But again, this really comes down to the customers and their feedback, and if we feel that this is something really useful, it might be something that we would consider. But it might be something something really interesting.
So how about we do some like a small exercise? So where we ask the CRO consultant politely, please don't share your opinion yet, and let's ask the founder college to have come up with few or 3 or 4 different things that we can ask the customers and see which one is getting them interesting and which one they are going to use and how, and then based on that you can roll out or you can shuffle your priorities to roll out the features.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think actually that's what I'm thinking as well, and that's the reason we're interested. We're actually watching the metrics to see what people are interested in. So this is sort of interesting. The hardest part, by the way, of FigPii to launch is the A/B testing, correct? Because it's involved, and the most addictive is A/B testing. The minute people launch it, the easiest part is the video recording. Chick, you're done. It records every visitor, and it's the least addictive. People are always fascinated by it at the beginning, right. And then after a while, people are like, okay, yeah, video recording is there, it's running. I'm not watching it. So the question to me is, how do you make the most addictive part, the hardest, really easy to use? As this is because really, I think people will see the benefit of that. And also, how do you make the easy part more useful? Correct. So people are coming back to it. So those are the questions that keep me kind of thinking and then considering at night. And in addition to running the business and arguing with our technical team on how to do different things.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, like always, at the end of the day, it's going to be like it has to be like super super simple. So everything that's going to be super simple, people are happy to use more, and they really want to start more of their opinion with you. So it's easy to build on from there. So for instance, having things like super complicated would have worked like a decade back. For example, that's how Salesforce has gotten into like huge industry. Salesforce is the messiest CRM I have ever seen in my life. And they're
Yes.
cool. It's because Messi works because Messi makes people feel that they have like lots of things and I can do whatever.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because I mentioned eBay because they've been a long time client, and for a long time, by the way, eBay, the way the listings and people found it very strange. They're like, oh, the listing page is horrible and you have to navigate multiple pages. That was actually by design,
Right.
because we wanted people to be very committed and we want them to spend the time and we want them. Now, by the way, what worked 10 years ago is a completely different strategy right now. So we're rolling out actually a whole bunch of interesting new designs for eBay on their product pages. And the idea is to simplify life. So it's just funny, like the philosophy was completely different.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's go take a few more questions. I'll go from, okay, Edel. So Edel has a question, how FigPii will have an effect on my website performance?
Yeah. So I'm in all honesty, that's something that we monitor very, very closely. So again, in terms of load time, we haven't seen FigPii cause more than 300 milliseconds delay. And remember, it's asynchronous, correct? So that means the page is supposed to load and then FigPii loads. So that's something very important. And we always recommend inserting the FigPii script right away in the header. So that ensures that if you're doing any type of A/B testing, it's much faster. And again, that's something that's perhaps one of the very critical elements whenever we're running FigPii that we monitor very closely. Some of the other tools out there. I mean, by the way, I almost lost the consulting business as a result of using one of the other tools because the load time was horrible, and then it went down, and the whole site went down, and then the client would not answer phone calls on Saturday, and then by the time they answered calls, on Monday morning, they're like, how on earth do you recommend this tool? And I'm like, I've been trying to call you for the last 2 days. So we're very careful. Yes, we're very careful with that. Let me answer the question that Alex had. Do you have any option to use session recorder based on certain events? So this is sort of, you don't want to trigger session recorder based on certain events, correct? So for example, when somebody clicks on add to cart, then you trigger a session recorder. No, because you want to record the whole session, correct? You want people to you want to see where that visitor navigated until he clicked on the recorder, on the add to cart. However, what you need to do, and this is something that we're going to be working on, and if you see the public roadmap, there's the video player enhancements, is actually you want to say, give me all the sessions that have an add product to cart, correct? Exactly. There you go. Thank you, Alex. Filters. So yeah, exactly. So we're working through that. We actually have filters based on page, based on, and we have it also in the back end where we can filter based on event. We just have not exposed the front end. So it's one of those things that we plan on doing. So you definitely want to have that. But there's even more interesting things that we're planning to roll out and kind of end of Q1 when it comes to video recording that will be even more powerful. When it comes to filters and really looking also at the data patterns for everybody who are clicking on the add to cart and where they're coming from, and give you even more actionable insights. So I say what we've done in the last, by the way, 12 to 18 months is kind of build the core engine, and we're fine-tuning it. In all honesty, we're still fine-tuning it, but now we're going to the more interesting problems. You have the heat maps. Well, how do you make heat maps more interesting? How do you make video recording more interesting?
Got you. Okay, Alex, glad to hear that. So going on, and Jay, so curious what plan would work best for me. We have a site that gets heavy traffic. As you check out, I see there are a few upgrade options. Jay, is that a question, or I'm not sure if I follow you.
Yeah, so the SaaS Mantra deal, we can talk about the deal. It's a lifetime deal. It's really for our kind of small plan, which is the 50,000 visitors. Jay, if you're interested in something larger, and we've talked me and Sampath about this, we want to offer some discount. What I would recommend is get started. Even you can get started with the free plan, by the way, although it takes away from the deal. But just kind of get a feel for the software, correct? And then ping me or ping Sampath, and we can work out something. In terms of cost, I know we're tremendously lower than anywhere else, and I'll be very frank. The lifetime deal and lots of these subscriptions are being offset by our large enterprise clients who are using the software. Whether it's Z Gallery or Soft Surroundings. I mean, we have just very large names who are using the software and paying just really nice amount of money for it. But again, we're kind of stuck in that realm, and it's sort of funny because people think, oh, people always try to get to enterprise and they don't focus on the smaller, to mid markets. We're doing it the other way around. And we'll stuck in 6 months and see what my opinion about that is. But again, get started. If you need help with the setup, just ping me, ping Sampath. We can definitely help and figure out also a good plan for you as well.
Wonderful. So, and okay, Paul, great overview and a lot of useful information about A/B testing. Yeah, I know that way this guy's like a gem. He has tons and tons of data about A/B testing and conversion rate optimization. So that's why I have huge respect. That's one of the reasons why I have huge respect for college. So can we do A/B testings based on Google Analytics data, say an increase of revenue, for example?
Yeah. So let me talk about this. So FigPii sends the data to Google Analytics, and I think the nice thing about FigPii is also lots of times you have to do specific code with other platforms. We actually built that into the platform because, again, something that we have to use for our clients all the time. We figured instead of having to configure. Now, how do you declare a winner? Can you declare a winner based on revenue data? I can comfortably tell you that none of the tools actually allow that.
Yes.
And the tools that actually allow that, they're doing it incorrectly. I actually have a link the article that I've written, and I sent it to our editors, and then they sent it back to me. They're like, we don't understand what this article is talking about. So here's the thing and I'm not going to delve really deep, so I'm going to speak for 30 seconds. When you're trying to determine a winner based on conversion, it's either a conversion or not conversion, correct? It's a binary event, 0 or 1. Now, when you try to determine a winner based on an average order value or revenue per visitor, that's not easy. That's actually not a binary event. So the statistics are completely different. And that's the reason we are seriously considering building that into FigPii, because FigPii does the reporting, by the way, on revenue, but it doesn't tell you which one is the winner. So sometimes you might see one variation that's, oh, look at this variation to increase my sales by 10% or drop my sales by 10%. Well, guess what? Statistically, it means nothing. There's actually a different framework, and we're thinking about building that into FigPii. The question that I have is, are people going to use it and going to find it useful? I know our clients will, because, I mean, to them, it really matters tremendously. So that's kind of kind of a high level, and I know, again, like I said, I saw some some platforms that report that, but they report it, and I'm like, oh man, the statistics on this is so wrong that I actually wrote the article, but then I think it was too heavy. It was me and our lead statistics. She's a PhD. She teaches actually statistics, and our editors say in the back, and they're like, oh yeah, we're not gonna edit this. You need to edit it yourself. So eventually, I will publish that article. So that's kind of a long answer. In terms of conversion funnels, again, I am not sure. I'll be very, very frank also about this. That's an area that I have a question mark whether it's useful or not, because you can set up the funnels in Google Analytics. Now, we track the data, so showing it is easy. But again, it's one of those areas that I'm like, oh, are people going to find it really useful? And then if we track it, then and we show those funnels, I think where it becomes a lot more interesting is when we do some data mining to tell you traffic coming from this source always drops. Always, imagine this. We're able to combine the videos for traffic coming from Google. So we show you one video that shows 85% of the visitors and what they clicked and how they navigated and where they dropped and what are the buttons that they clicked on. That's a lot more interesting, correct? So that's something always kind of in the back of my head that we're thinking about doing.
Wonderful. Yusuf, hope that helps. Please let us know if not. So Amber has another question. Do you plan to provide recommendations based on analytics? So instead of just maybe some recommendations, that's going to have a lot of ML to come into the DAS. Sure.
Yeah, so we actually have a module that not only recommendation based on analytics. Here's the thing, like whenever you're doing it, like trying to figure out how to improve your website, there's a couple of things that happen. You need to look at your analytics and determine what are the pages that are linking visitors. So that's one thing. You need to also pull up a page and do an analysis of that page. So that's actually a module that we're thinking about, because that's something that we use regularly ourselves on our conversion projects, as opposed to just leaving it to different people do something, pull that data into FigPii, and actually have a full view where I pull a page and there is a guided wizard that asks you to evaluate about 150 different elements on the page. So that's something that we use internally. And we had built a version of it in FigPii, and then we did not like the UI. And I'm like, okay, well, for our team, because they have to use it, they're using it. But we need to figure out a way where we make the UX really easy to use. So that's actually in the plans. And by the way, that's kind of our bread and butter, why people hire us for CRO, because we're able to evaluate pages. So imagine if we take that knowledge and put it in FigPii and allow you to use the same knowledge to evaluate your pages and figure out what's broken, what's working on your site. It's there in the plans. We don't have it at least planned for the next 2 quarters. We'll see where that takes us.
Wonderful. Okay. So Paul has a follow-up question, I believe. If you do not use revenue, what is the KPI that you use for A/B tests to understand what have influence on different metrics?
Can you say that again? Sorry, let me see. Maybe it's if I go up. Sorry, I'm trying to see. So if I don't use revenue, so let me let's put it this way. So what FigPii reports to you, it reports multiple metrics, correct? It reports conversions, correct? Whether this variation increased the number of orders, let's say you're an e-commerce website, or number of subscriptions if you're a SaaS company. So it reports that. So you can look at conversion rates. And we rely on conversion rates to determine the winner in our Bayesian statistics. Now, that's how we determine a winner. And we don't push the winner. We tell you, hey, based on statistics, this variation had 1,000 visitors, 100 subscriptions. This variation had 1,000 visitors, 80 subscriptions. So the conversion rate is 10% versus 8%. We believe that this is a winner with, let's say, 95% chance to win. So it's very solid. At the same time, we report revenue. We tell you that, okay, yeah, by the way, this variation also generated those 100 subscriptions that you've generated. The average order value for them, let's say, or the average subscription value was $100. So you've generated 10,000. This other one, because it's different subscription levels, we give you the money. So we show you that, and you can look at the numbers. And we always say that these revenue number is kind of something that helps you make the decision, but you should not be your primary focus. And this is, by the way, not particular to FigPii. Again, with any other tool, whenever you see revenue reported, it should help you make the decision, but it should not be the primary factor. Now, we also report additional things. So we'll show you the bounce rate for the different variations, the exit rate. We'll show you that time on page. Again, we don't make a decision based on those numbers, but our goal is to help you and then say, listen, this version, not only did it win, but the bounce rate on it actually is much lower, which makes it great. So those are kind of additional things that our consultants typically use when they're working on CRO projects to say, you know what, okay, this is helpful to me to make my decision and make a case in front of a client or internally to make a decision.
Wonderful. Paul, hope that helps. Please let us know with another follow-up question if not. Right. So thank you, Khalid. So Yusuf has a question. Thank you, Khalid. Very glad to see a SaaS company do this. To come from enterprise to SMBs have to be applauded. Wonderful. So as with any data collection or analytics tool, what are the updates on GDPR? Okay.
So we have the California rule and the GDPR. So we're planning to roll those officially by the end of Q1. Unofficially, probably the next 3-4 weeks. I think we're actually, at least for the California rule, and I keep on forgetting the acronyms, so it's always embarrassing. I always say some random acronym and people are like, what is that? But GDPR, we're halfway through the implementation. And for us, by the way, we don't collect email addresses. So it's just easier to when it comes to California privacy law, we're just masking the last 4 digits of the IP address. So you cannot identify the particular user for GDPR. Again, we're just building the tool that allows the customer to retrieve their data and ask for delete, also launching tracking after somebody agrees. So all of those are planned, I would say, officially by the end of Q1, unofficially much earlier than that. I see over here. Let me see. By the way, any other questions, Sampath? I see that.
This is a question that I have been asked for private messages and emails. So do I need another developer to make use of FigPii, especially when it comes to like running A/B testing? So do I need that, or?
So remember, the tool is built actually, if you're going to run a simple A/B test, I want to test a different headline on a homepage. No, you don't need a developer. You can just use the visual editor. Okay. But again, if you're going to run an A/B test that's meaningful, correct, and you have enough conversions. Jay, for example, mentioned that you had lots of visitors, lots of conversions. You're probably not going to be just testing a different headline, correct? You're probably going to be testing different layouts of the page. You can use the visual editor. I would not recommend it. I would not recommend using the visual editor of FigPii or any other tool, by the way. Especially if the site is heavy with traffic, yes, I would recommend having a front-end developer implement some of those tests. Mm-hmm. And I think, by the way, we're going to come up with a nice offer, by the end of next week, in terms of implementing some of the A/B tests for some of the subscribers. Okay. I'm not going to announce it right now. So we'll throw something towards at the end of next week, just kind of for us to come in and help some of the companies. But yeah, I mean, I always recommend, and you've seen many articles that say, yes, if you're implementing an A/B test, do use a front-end developer, although you have the other option. Now, in terms of heat maps, video recording polls, no. It's built so you can launch it intuitively.
Gotcha. Wonderful. So we have often talked about, so this is another question. Of course, we have addressed that, but just need some numbers would be great. So often we spoke about the asynchronous and FigPii loads in less than 300 milliseconds, which is amazing. So what is the what's going to be the timing for Hotjar?
Man, I think people can install Hotjar on their site and see, because my information is about a year old. Okay. But as a best practice, by the way, whenever you're running Hotjar, if you're doing any type of A/B testing or heat maps or video recording, we just install the script on the site and then we remove it. Just because we saw some significant performance degradation with some of our clients. And again, if the site is small, if you're only having let's say 5,000-10,000 visitors, no big deal. But we've seen with some of our larger clients, where they're getting 30 to 50 million visitors. No, we see performance degradation, and we've talked to Hotjar previously about this. But no, honestly, we have not used Hotjar now in a while after, and that's one of the reasons we moved away from it. So they might have fixed the problem again. But that was a big concern for us. And still, if we have some clients, so for example, we had a new client that just signed up a couple of days ago with us for the consulting, and he was using Hotjar, and we told him, well, whenever we launch an A/B test, we remove the Hotjar scripts. We don't want to risk any delays. So that was a concern. Now, where Hotjar is very powerful, it's really usability is just absolutely wonderful. I love using Hotjar, and I think it also brought people into using heat maps and video recording and polls. Correct? I mean, that's the power of it. It just made it very people start talking about oh, well, there's this cool tool. Although there are many other tools that did that before, but the Hotjar is the tool that really made the difference. So all power to that.
Gotcha. Wonderful. That's a very nice answer, very precise with the data and stuff. I like it.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So we don't have any new questions coming in. If I have any more questions, please let us know. We are winding up the webinar, and we'll pick 2 winners from the list of questions. I'm sure Paul would be there most likely, and Alex as well might most likely. Fingers crossed. So we'll pick 2. I'll leave it to Khalid. I'll ask Khalid to pick 2 winners from the list of questions.
Oh man, this is just random. You need to have a more random approach, man. Otherwise,
I'm just pulling your legs.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'll leave it up to you, because otherwise I'll just scroll and just put on a name. But no, you choose.
For sure. So wonderful webinar, Khalid. I mean, thanks for making time today. I know it's going to be super busy day for you again, but thanks for making time today to do this webinar. And like Khalid said, there's going to be some more surprises coming your way. So keep the fingers crossed. and start using FigPii and keep more questions coming in. Most importantly, keep college team super engaged. They're like team full of awesomeness, just ready to bombard at any point of time. You give them
Definitely.
opinion, and they'll give like 10x back. That's how the team is. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody, for taking the time to join as well. I hope you found it beneficial.
For sure. So thank you, fam. See you all in the next webinar. And always thanks for keeping the webinar super interactive. Kudos to you. Cheers.
Awesome. Thank you.